Hey, what's up out there? It's Dave Duford here at Final Expense Agent Mentor at feagentmentor.com, where I help people like you succeed in selling insurance. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today, because I have a special topic that I do hope that you'll get some value out of, no matter what kind of insurance you sell. And the title and purpose of today's video is the ultimate guide to prospecting for insurance sales. What I'm going to be talking about today are all the different types of methods that are available to you to go out into market, whether you sell life insurance, Medicare insurance, health insurance, or anything at all. And you want to know, how do you actually get in front of decent prospects that'll be open-minded to what it is that you have to sell them. And regardless of whether you can afford leads or not, this is going to be perfect for you, because again, I'm going to do a deep dive into each different type of analysis so you can figure out what methods are available, what works best, and what, most importantly, what you think works best for you. So the one thing I'll add here, you probably have seen the thumbnail that I had up here, which was a guy squatting down in a pretty arid, vapid, desert-like environment. And if you've ever seen the movie There Will Be Blood, that's Daniel Day-Lewis, who is the main character in that movie, and he is a prospector. And I liken the aspect of selling insurance, and more specifically prospecting for insurance, to that particular scene. That is near the beginning of the movie, where Daniel Day-Lewis's character is prospecting for, I believe, minerals. I think he's looking for silver in Nevada. Eventually he moves to trying to drill for oil. He might be looking for oil in that as well. But he is in the middle of his prospecting, and he's a complete abject failure, because he's tried and tried and tried. He's absolutely nowhere, and you can see the dusk is settling in, and he's cold, and he's all alone. And that's really what it's like to sell insurance sometimes. You feel like that because you got to go see these people you've never met, and be told, no, I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. It is by most designs, a very difficult business. It does get easier, I can tell you, as you get more and more involved in this business, as long as you can survive. And you got to fight through the process over many years in many cases. That's just the way the game is played. So the purpose of today's video is to talk to you about, of course, the different ways that you can prospect for insurance business. So what I want to first start off is really just, again, the primordial nature of selling and prospecting for insurance. And I don't really care what people say. This business is a numbers game, first and foremost. Certainly you have to know how to sell insurance. There's no dispute there by me. But all your knowledge base, all your technical experience means nothing if you can't see a consistent level of people each and every week. You have to meet the demands of a rigorous prospecting schedule, no matter what it is that you end up doing. And do it on a consistent basis to be successful. This is the case in the fact that even if you're a mediocre salesperson, you can outperform the Tony Robbins of the insurance business if you just do more activity than what they do. So understand that this is the cornerstone to your success in this business, that no matter if you sell a pretty cool product, it doesn't mean anything if you don't see enough people that are of a decent profile to meet it. So you got to fight to see the people. You have to work on seeing the people. And there's a book I'm looking at on my shelf over here by a guy named Tony Gordon that's called It Can Only Get Better. He is a MDRT member and sells insurance, I think, to business owners. And he has the term of the magic 15, I think is what he calls it, which essentially is, he was taught when he first got started that you got to fight to see 15 people a week, no matter what it is that you're selling. And he had made mention to his boss. He said, well, what if I only see 14? He's like, well, you might be successful, but if you hit 15 appointments a week, you'll be successful in the insurance business. And I think that generally holds true. If you can consistently see 15 people a week, you're going to run across sales opportunities. But it's when you're only doing 5 or 10, there's going to be a lot more variation, because you don't have the law of averages on your side when you're not running enough numbers as it pertains to presentation. So what I would say is a takeaway from this would be, make sure your goal is 15 appointments a week. If you're part-time, you understand you're probably not going to get that many. But if you're full-time in the business, there's no reason why you couldn't get 15 appointments a week, given you do enough activity. And because again, many people will tell you who've sold insurance for a long time that if they do 15 appointments a week, things tend to take care of themselves. Of course, there'll be better weeks and worse weeks than others, but over the long haul, things are a lot more smoother and a little bit more predictable than if you're doing 5 or 10 appointments or something like that. So let's start with cold calling and why it will continue to work. So cold calling is the basis of all insurance sales. It is the most, I guess you could say, the most traditional form of prospecting if you don't have a list of people that you can develop referrals from or a network that you can work. Cold calling is just like it sounds. It involves you showing up at somebody's door unannounced or calling them over the telephone. Now, I think cold calling is going to have better results in some industries than others. However, I believe somebody with enough tenacity and enough of guts can go out there and cold call and get results no matter what product they're selling. It's going to be difficult, yeah, getting rejected a lot, of course, but therein lies the nature of the business. So what kind of businesses would I think, or what kind of niches do I think work well for cold calling for insurance prospects? I think Medicare is a great product that you can cold call for. And the main reason is that anybody turning 65, the vast majority of them, are great prospects for potentially a Medicare supplement. All you have to do is buy a list of people turning 65 in the next 3 to 6 months and start knocking on doors or call them on the phone. A lot of these people know there's a deadline approaching and they've got to make their decision on some kind of product. And so they're going to be much more apt to talk to you if you call them over the phone or show up in person. Also, I think cold calling in the sense of calling on businesses will always be a great way to market. Between my first failure in this business and coming back into selling final expense, I had worked for a Fortune 500 company, specifically Aramark Uniform Services. And this is a multi-million-dollar company. And their primary prospecting method is simply cold calling. That's what we did. We got on the phone, we cold called 150 calls a week, cold called face-to-face as well. And the methods work, not just to sell single proprietary owners, but also large corporations, 100 plus. Cold calling works phenomenally well. And the thing I realize is that business owners are very receptive to people who have the guts to call on them, especially if you show up in person. Most of them will be more than willing to give you a minute to 2 minutes to just tell them what you're doing, who you're looking for, and to see if you might be a good match. Again, because all business owners on some level have to sell. And so if you come in with a respectful pitch and you get right to the point and you don't waste their time, many times these business owners aren't BSers. They'll tell you straight up yes or no if they're somebody that might be interested in it or not. And I thought the process of cold calling business owners was way easier than cold calling residential, meaning just regular people. So anyways, I'm a big believer that if you're going to do this, hold on one second, guys. Reach over here. All right. And I got kids running around in the background, so I don't want them blowing in like that guy on BBC did. I don't know if you remember seeing that video. It's kind of funny. He was doing some video, and all his kids ran in. One didn't have its pants on. It was kind of funny. Anyways, so I think cold calling works great. If you sell to business owners, maybe you sell term insurance, key man insurance, you sell some kind of retirement type planning, cold call business owners. It's a great way to set up appointments with great prospects that make decisions instantly. That's how they run their careers. That's how they run their businesses. They don't need to ask their wives for permission to do things. And they really need life insurance agents. And plus, there's just not a lot of people calling on them. So I think cold calling, if you call on business owners, is fantastic. Is there a group of people where cold calling doesn't work so well? Not really. I mean, I think residential calling, especially to younger populations under 65, I wouldn't necessarily fool with it because, first of all, if you're going to call legit, you can't call cell phones and you can't call people who are on the do not call list. And if you think of people under 65 that have a house phone, who even has a house phone these days? Much less people in my age range, let's say. So I think it's kind of a foolish method. And that's over the telephone. Now, face-to-face, totally different scenario. I think in some ways, I think you do just fine. There's just nobody that cold calls anymore. It's very rare that you find people that show up to try to prospect face-to-face. And I think you'll find people appreciate that kind of connection if you do a good job at the door. So, but I think in general, if you're going to cold call residential, do it face-to-face. Don't waste your time unless you're targeting like a Medicare type of prospect where we know they're probably more likely to have a phone and they're more likely to be receptive because of the deadline they've got to meet when they turn 65 for Medicare. That would be the only exception to the rule. So that's cold calling. Hey, Russell, how you doing? Hey, William, how you doing? Let me answer these questions here. Man, been watching getting my license this month, going through Kaplan. Please keep up this work. I can't find a better source to trust than you. Thank you, Russell. Appreciate that. It's nice of you. Hey, William, how you doing? What's a good way to knock on doors? Show up. It's more of an activity game than it is anything else. I mentioned that earlier. You may have missed it, but this is prospecting, right? You know, you got to keep digging until you find the gold or to find the oil well. And, you know, the goal is to come up with a simple script, but then to do it 20 to 30 times a day. You know, approach 20 to 30 people a day. And even if you've got a mediocre script, you're going to find somebody who's interested. You know, so I always just say, hey, I'm a life insurance agent. If you're just cold calling, it depends on what you're calling for. I guess if you want to respond to me and let me know what your product in mind that you had, I can kind of give you some ideas. But anyways, that's cold calling. It definitely works. If I were to cold call and if I had a gun to my head, I could choose the product, but I had to cold call. I could not buy leads or develop leads any other way. I would cold call business owners. I would pick up term insurance. I would pick one product, maybe disability insurance, something that's easy, that's a mass market product, because my goal would be to develop a clientele, a book of business. Then I'd sell them the bigger, better products. But I'd go out there, sell something simple, and just knock on 20, 30 business stores, small businesses, because I could probably most likely reach the owner who probably makes a decent income, probably has assets he wants to protect and take care of his family. And I'd call on. I might sell something like a voluntary payroll deduct to get his employees covered as well. These are bread and butter products, and I know that I could start selling policies within a week or two if I did the activity like I mentioned to William. Term life, yeah. So that's what I would do, William. What I just described to you is exactly what I would do. I'm telling you, man, call on business owners. Let me tell you real quick my personal story of someone calling on me. So before I got into life insurance, I was a personal trainer. I had a little shop, a little gym in a basement under a vegetarian restaurant. And I always worked. I didn't have any employees, no gatekeepers, nothing like that. And I remember I was training a couple clients, and I saw some weird-looking dude with a pocket protector, business casual, start walking down the street towards my door. And I was like, oh, God, somebody's going to call on me. And this dude walked in. He said, hey, my name is Mark something. And he says, I'm an insurance agent, and I help people out with their health insurance, and wanted to see if you had a few moments to show you what I do. I said, Mark, I definitely want to talk to you, but now is not a good time, but I would definitely want to speak with you. Can you call me back? I mean, I was like flat out, look, I am interested, but I'm dealing with my clients right now. I'm a personal trainer. They're spending the money right now with me, helping them, working them out, right? I can't talk to you, but I really want to talk to you. And I needed to, because I think I just got married, or my Cobra was going out or something like that. So I was straight to the point. I was like, dude, let's talk. And so I bought health insurance from him for the next couple of years. And so he called on me. I never had another insurance man ever call on me. And I had that shop for like 5 years. 5 freaking years and never had another insurance man. Dude, nobody ever approached me about life insurance. I needed life insurance then. Nobody ever talked to me. I'm not saying I would have bought, but nobody ever approached me. I'm sitting there waiting for them to give them my money, and nobody was going to take it. You know, guess nobody was man enough, right? So, anyways, yeah. So I would do that. Will that is the best way to do it. Take a simple product like term insurance. Most people need more of it. Especially business owners if they're growing. We have a great economy right now. Their incomes could be improving. Their situation, they may be expanding their business. They've got debt now they got to cover. Term insurance, perfect. Go out there and talk to them, man. I'm telling you, that is way better than calling on businesses or calling on residences where you get this door slammed in your face. All these employees who don't understand what it's like to be in the grind of being an entrepreneur and working hard. Forget them. Go see your business owners. They'll be more than happy to listen to you. Okay, so you're welcome. So let's move on to the next one here. So seminar marketing for high quality leads. Man, I love seminars. So what are seminars? Well, you know what seminars are. You get up in front of a bunch of people. You know, it could be small groups, it could be large groups, and you deliver a speech about some kind of talk. So I got turned on to these several years ago. I really improved upon a method that I learned to do seminars to final expense prospects. And I was able to write several policies on average per seminar and then teach agents to do the same. Right now I've got a client or an agent of mine. She usually does 2 seminars a week. She writes about maybe 4 or 5 policies a week off of seminars. The great thing is the seminar is 10 minutes long. It's not really a seminar, it's a talk. The prospects she develops they believe in her, they think she's an authority because she got up there and spoke about the subject. So they've developed rapport, they like her, they trust her, and they're very easy to buy and buy from her. And it's just a superior method. And by the way, very little to no cost to do it. So where do you do seminars? It just depends on what kind of product you do. So let's say you do Medicare supplements. Medicare Advantage, maybe a little different. Let's say you do Medicare supplements. You don't have the CMS rules to prevent you from the compliance issues. Go to senior activity centers. Go to churches. Go where old people are. And do an educational talk on the benefits of Medicare supplements or just Medicare. It doesn't really matter. And do that 2 or 3 times a week. Just like prospecting cold, seminars are a numbers game. You don't have to spend an inordinate amount of money like in a retirement planning session at Ruth's Steakhouse with a bunch of plate lickers who just eat your dinner and then never buy anything. You can go do this for free. If you sell term insurance, go speak at different group meetings. Look, Rotary Club is huge. You can get all sorts of prospects from Rotary Club. They're always looking for speakers. Go to BNI meetings, visit BNI meetings, other ones. Do the Lions Club. There's all sorts of things where you can get up and speak on subjects. And what happens is you don't have to be the greatest speaker, but you do have to deliver some kind of educational information that's compelling. And what will happen is you'll have people approach you that will say, hey, I really need to talk to you. I love what you had to offer. I want to tell you what I'm looking for. And you'll develop your own leads in business that way. So again, really, the sky's the limit. If you can just give a speech on anywhere about anything, you'll find that there's all sorts of opportunity out there to develop leads. So, and again, I've seen this business work. I know an agent that I taught this method to. He writes 6 figures a year in final expense business. Again, my agent locally does a lot of business too as well. And this is something that you can do no matter what it is that you're selling. You just need to know where to go and and who your clients are. So if you're selling seniors, look for places that house seniors. Look for places that do events with seniors. Churches are fantastic too because the churches are full of usually older people. And they're very approachable, especially if you can talk about life insurance. You go into a church, talk to the pastor, be like, dude, come on in. They've officiated over funerals where the family didn't have the money to bury them, so they get it. And a lot of times you'll sell the people that you have to pitch to get in the door too. Like my agent locally sold a policy to the activity director at a senior facility that she went into and sold the guy a policy, and she's done that a couple of times already. So there's so many opportunities out there. The only expense you may have with these is to bring in some food. Maybe there's a gift card giveaway for people who attend, but you don't really have to spend a ton of money to do them, but you do have to do a lot of activity. I would say 2 a week is the minimum, but if you really are motivated, do 3. But you got to make sure that when you do seminars, you're always having a designated day to go prospect for seminars. I recommend showing up in person, dropping in, just saying, hey, look, my name is Dave Duford. I'm a life insurance agent. I give educational seminars on, think of a subject, on how to protect business owners from the IRS, or how to protect estates for business owners. Or stuff. You got to think of an idea that corresponds with the product you sell, and then go up there and talk about it. Or I do educational seminars on what happens about disability and how it affects people's lives, and then go up there and give a 20-30 minute talk and put in stories about different clients you've had, about whatever your subject is, and really be compelling. I'm telling you, you'll get all sorts of prospects from it. The best thing you can do when you do seminars is to do one that's kind of mass. I believe in the mass market approach, just like cold calling. Talk about a subject that a lot of people understand and think about, and what they can do about it, and why they should be concerned, because you'll develop more leads. You'll cast a broader net, and then you can do a fact finder and then go in and see what kind of product would work best. So I love seminars. Hopefully that's clear. Okay, so let's move on to traditional paid lead generation strategies. This is direct mail and telemarketing. So this is where you buy postcards, you purchase leads for people to telemarket for you, and then they generate leads, or the leads are generated through the mail, and then you just set the appointments to go see them over the phone, or you just simply arrive unannounced and ask to get in. This strategy works for everything. It doesn't matter what level of sophistication or economic sophistication your prospects have. It all works just fine. Of course, you just got to find a corresponding market to make it work. Some examples of markets where paid lead generation traditional methods work very well include Medicare, whether you're doing Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement. These plain, boring old marketing pieces work fantastic. Also, final expense, of course, works very well. Telemarketing leads for both products work very good. Even mortgage protection, which tends to skew a little bit younger, does a little bit older too. Those work fantastically well as well. As far as probably term insurance works fine, but one of the ways that you want to utilize any kind of paid leads, this is just a basic rule of thumb, is to target those leads to a list. The list is the most important element of your marketing piece. You have the message, the market, and the media. So what that means is the message is what the lead says. That accounts for 20% of its success. The market, the media, is how it's sent. I should say, I think the media is 20%. Media is it direct mail? Is it telemarketing? The market is the list, and the message is what's said on the piece. Those two account for 80% of the success. So the list to me is the biggest element. If you figure out what the list, you got to figure out a list that really corresponds with the kind of product you want to sell. So, for example, Medicare is, again, keep using it because it is a deadline, it's a specific thing that must be done. If you can set a mailer out to where people are just turning 65 in the next 3 months, you're going to get a good response from that. Or if it's AEP, it's annual enrollment period, people are thinking about switching their Medicare plans. And when you dump mail around that time, you get higher response rates because it's a seasonality effect. So the list is very well planned, and you get a better response because people are in that mode. It's like targeting for Christmas mailers in July. It doesn't make sense. If you're trying to promote Christmas sales, you do it close to Christmas, and seasonally speaking, it's Black Friday that you want to at least be super serious about developing. Also, other products, mortgage protection. Look, the impetus behind mortgage protection is when a new mortgage is filed, and these people now have this debt that they've got to maintain and manage. So it's really important for them to, we mail to them and they see the car like, oh yeah, this is interesting. They're going to be much more likely to be open-minded to what you're saying, but that's the idea behind really good direct mail. The more broad-based the mailer and the more cold traffic that you're doing off of direct mail, the higher cost you usually are going to pay. It's not that it can't work, it's just that you really do best with direct mail when you've got a very well-refined list. Take it from me, I do mailers to my existing list of clients, and my response rates are usually triple to quadruple what you would get off of a cold mailer, and then I sell a lot more of them, of course, because I've already sold them something before, so they're already sold on what it is that I bring to the table. They've already bought from me once, so a lot higher chance they'll buy from me again. So as far as with direct mail, other products out there, I'm sure there's direct mail. I mean, we see postcard mailers for retirement planning, for financial planners, and that gets people butts in the seminars. That certainly is effective to some extent, although I've heard that's deteriorated over the years. It's gotten more popular. But there's a lot of markets that use a paid lead generation approach just to get people to raise their hands, and then for you to just show up unannounced or set an appointment over the phone to speak to them, and it works very well. I'm of the persuasion, last thing I'll add here, I think direct mail is the better course of action for the vast majority of agents than telemarketing leads if you do paid leads. And the reason is that telemarketing is a dying medium. There's less and less house phones every year, and less people that are not on the do not call list. it's something that everybody's been predicting, the death of telemarketing. I know people do very well at it, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just think direct mail is still where the vast majority of the people are at. You're going to get a lot more market saturation and stay in an area geographically a lot more. Whereas if you try to do telemarketing, you end up spanning like multiple counties to fulfill enough activity to make a good stab at the business. So there's your traditional paid lead generation strategy. So the next thing on the list here is new age paid lead generation strategies using Facebook and Google search. So the one thing that internet marketing, especially Facebook, allows us to do is to develop a really, really refined list of people based on not only off of demographics and income, but also interest levels. I can go into Facebook today and I can create an ad and I can target people who live in Tennessee that are females between 40 and 50 that are Dave Ramsey fans and vote Republican and also like ice cream. I can target those people, all right? Now, I'm not saying that's the secret list to target, but you get the idea. I can do this weird, really refined targeting list that I can super target a specific group of people and get very refined down to it. So Facebook, and Facebook does a really good job in my experience in generating leads at a very affordable rate. I've seen very successful internet-based businesses that are generating quality direct Facebook leads for $2, $3, $4 a lead. And they're doing like a free gift with a free download for information on a product or free training, that kind of thing. It does really well. And if you can develop a system that works well, then that's great. And to do Facebook marketing effectively, you got to be committed to testing. You've got to test all different types of ads. You got to test different images, test different copy. You got to run all the ads, see what pulls, see what doesn't pull, get rid of what doesn't work, and then refine what does until you've got the few that are just the primary drivers of the success of your leads, or success of your lead generation. But you can build a business off of cold traffic off of Facebook really well, and just really do a good job highly targeting. Google is the same way, although I would say Google ads, probably YouTube ads as well. I haven't a ton of experience. I don't have a ton of experience there, but my experience there is the price point's a little bit higher to develop traffic. But we see it is fairly competitive, right? If you go do life insurance, Google search, you're going to see Select Quote, you're going to see other insurance companies like AIG that have made huge investments in the direct-to-consumer approach. So it's a very competitive keyword. And you got to figure out keywords that are less competitive, but then, affords you the ability to possibly generate quality leads. So I like Facebook. I think Facebook is a great method. That's where most people are. It's the least costly method, and it just allows you a lot of customization and testing and the ability to refine, but both methods definitely work. Next method here would be the power of referral relations. So I'm not talking about referrals, although I should talk about referrals. Referrals being from your clients that you sold. I have a training I would recommend you to do with a guy named Claude Whitaker. In fact, if you put in David Duford and Claude Whitaker into the YouTube search, you will see an interview I did. It's about an hour and 10 minutes. It's excellent. It's a high-level, advanced referral generation strategies. It can be employed by new or experienced agents, but it definitely works. So I would just look at that for referral generation. But for what I'm talking about here are just referral relations. This is where you set yourself up as a person in which can help people when necessary. So I'll give you my personal experience. Like I recruit agents, right? But what I have found over the years is that every once in a while I'll get an agent who I've worked with or maybe I've at least corresponded with that wants my help on a case, and in exchange I split the business with them or I take care of the case. I had one call in from an agent of mine named Chip. He used to work with me very early on in Final Expense. He works for another captive company now and more in the financial planning, white collar market. And he has a client he really wants to help, but he's had all these weird health issues. And so he just said, hey, Dave, write this person up. Money's not a problem. He just needs something on the book. So I have an idea of what I can do to help him, and I'm going to call him later to see what I can do. So just through the act of me being out there and being helpful to agents, I've brought in these kind of high-risk cases they otherwise wouldn't get. And for a split, I'll be able to cover them, or just for the sake they want their clients covered and do the right thing by them. So you can kind of do the same thing too. And great ways to prospect would be to develop relationships through BNI. If you want to join a BNI chapter, that's Business Network International. You network with businesses. There's no other businesses that are the same as yours. There's unique businesses in each group. And what your job is to do is just to introduce yourself, network, give referrals, and then receive referrals. And great places to develop referral relations include real estate agents are great because, hey, man, when somebody buys a house, they most likely went into debt and a mortgage, right? So they might be a prime candidate for what you have to offer. Moving companies are great because the same thing. Think about when somebody buys a house. Bankers are great, right? Because if they're going to go out and make a loan to a business owner, they probably want it protected with a life insurance policy because they don't want to try to collect, on the assets. They rather have the money and run. So these are great ways to develop referral relationships where it's not going to necessarily happen instantly. You get sales, but if you do a good job following up with these people, making connections, you can begin to develop business that comes to you through the power of relations. And then the last one here, I think this is my favorite currently, and it works pretty well for me, is the authority positioning on the internet using super awesome content. So what this basically refers to is using YouTube and using web search to develop leads. As you guys know, you're watching me right now, you're on YouTube, you know that this stuff works. If you're like a lot of my agents, you've stumbled across my stuff, whether doing web searches or looking at YouTube, and just found some information I had on some video. Now, obviously, you like what I had to say, and you found it compelling and interesting, and so here you are. You're possibly subscribed to my channel, and you watch some of my videos, if not all of them. And what tends to happen with some percentages of these people is they eventually join my agency, and then we work together, and then I make my commissions off of their production in the form of an override. So YouTube has given me this great opportunity to develop a great business where I can help a lot of people, whether or not you decide to work with me. But then I know a percentage of those people are going to say, hey, I like this business, I like the sound of it, and I want to work with a dude like Dave because he seems like he's legit, he's honest, he's not full of crap. So that's great, and you can do the same thing for any kind of insurance product as well. There's, of course, a strategy involved with it. You've got to have really good, super awesome content, and you can do the same thing with web design too. With web design, I think it's more competitive, where if you go in and try to do search engine optimization, create content for Google-based searches, there's a lot more competition for insurance terms than there is in YouTube. So I think YouTube has a lot more capability to be more successful than, at least for ranking purposes, than the website would be initially, or web design for search engine optimization. I think you should do both. I think it's a long strategy. I think it's something that you get started with and you stay committed to for a year or two. I didn't get successful with YouTube until about 6 to 12 months in. I started noticing my videos ranked more. I was getting more traffic from them, and it was just a better overall experience. So it's something you got to commit yourself to. It takes a while, but and it works with both markets. But the key to doing any kind of authority positioning using the internet is you got to have really awesome content. If you don't do a good job of delivering value, whether in the written word and you're doing Google type of searches or a setup for Google search, or if you're doing video on YouTube, if you don't do a really awesome job in delivering value, people are just going to turn off. They're going to go somewhere else. They're going to try to find someone else to help solve their problems. So you only want to do this method if you don't have to really know your product very well. I mean, you have to have a general understanding of it, but it's more important to just display just as much quality content as you can that's super helpful and super useful. And what Google does, and remember, Google is owned by YouTube, or Google owns YouTube as well as Google Search, of course. What Google knows is if they see this super awesome content, they're going to rank you higher, whether it's in YouTube search or Google search. And if you can really do a good job of answering the questions that people pose when they search for terms in either search engine, and you do a really good job, you're going to rank at the highest level. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not necessarily going to happen for all of your content, but for the ones that do a really good job, it's going to rank really high. So I think it's worth doing, but as a long-term strategy. Most people who get involved in this business have to make money yesterday, And there's something to be said about that. So I think it's important to start your strategies off in one of the original directions here and then eventually build out into this direction. And then to get great high quality leads like that. Now, so to conclude here, again, this is a good overview of all your options available to you to sell insurance. Again, to prospect for insurance. Again, we got cold calling. It definitely works, especially if you sell to businesses. It's a fantastic way to sell. Also, seminar marketing. If you've got the guts to get in front of a bunch of people, trust me, it is the best form, I think, of generating business without having to spend an enormous amount of money. Also, traditional paid marketing works great if you've got the capitalization and you can manage your money well. Direct mail and telemarketing still works. Of course, Facebook and Google search are other ways that you can develop leads. I like them. Referral relationships, like this last point here of developing web-based leads, take time to develop and nurture, but it's something that has huge payoffs in the long run. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video on all the different prospecting options available to you, no matter what you sell. My recommendation is just to pick one of them and go all in on it, okay? Whatever it is that you can best suit, whatever's best suited for you, go all in on it. I would recommend after 6 months looking into some of this web design type of approach to rank yourself on Google or YouTube to expand yourself out, or a referral generation type of strategy, or seminars. But go all in on one method to begin, and then branch out with one of these other methods to develop, especially an automatic way to generate leads, especially through referrals or especially through the web. And if you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave a message below. I'll be happy to help you. My name is David Duford. You can find me at feagentmentor.com. Again, subscribe to this channel if you haven't. I do videos Monday through Friday on all sorts of topics related to insurance, not just final expense. And my job is to help you become better so you can stick around longer in this business, realize the success that is capable if you work hard enough and commit yourself, and help a lot of people too out in the long run as well. Dave Duford, logging off. We'll see you next time. Y'all have a good weekend. See ya.